So I just got my truck cap back from being painted. This is an 07 Ford Ranger with the original red paint, so it's probably a little faded. It's been exposed to Connecticut winters. I've plowed snow with this truck for about 8 years. I plowed driveways, nothing major. And it's never been garaged either, so it's been exposed to a lot of sunlight and heat and cold. Yeah, it's held up really good. Of course, I've always touched up whenever there was a nick or anything. So yeah, I kept up with it. That really seems to be the key. Every time you got a little nick somewhere, just put some paint and lacquer on it. Paint, or I don't know if it's technically lacquer or just like a clear coat or what it is exactly, but basically your paint, your exact paint color, what you would check usually if you have the original paint and you have the sticker still on the door, and the door jamb. This paint code is G2. So you would check that, you get the right color paint, and you get a clear coat to go over it. If you just do paint, it won't protect. You'll get rust underneath. So yeah, and I've mixed them. You don't have to do one then the other, because you'll forget where every little dot is, where there's every little nick or scratch. So you could just mix them together. So yeah, just had this painted. For the most part, really satisfied. The company that did it used a really good paint. I believe PPG is the brand, which is really close to factory original paint. There was a piece of molding, like almost like a half round, a little less than half a round, but kind of like, you know what I mean, like a dome shape that went all the way around here, and it had a lip that went underneath. And I'm thinking that was probably, because you can get just the dome shape without that lip. That's pretty common, that's like universal molding on the internet. They've had that for years, but I think this stuff had a lip just so when you put it on, it helps guide when you're putting it on, so it goes nice and straight, because it's easy to, that other type of, that universal molding that's just a dome shape, it's easy to go like all over the place with it. So that'll help guide it. I'm gonna get some more of that. I was not gonna bother, but two things. The guy who painted it, he didn't fill these. These are some nicks that were behind the molding, and there's probably about 10 of them all the way around, and I don't like looking at that, and kind of wasn't happy about it. But he told me, hey, you know, the molding was no good, and I forgot to bring it up with you, and I forgot to fill that. He was going to fill it. He filled a bunch of other ones on the rest of the cap. He ended up stripping this thing right down, almost down completely to the fiberglass, because the paint that was on it was so old it was just flaking off. So I'm going to get a new molding. I'm just going to leave it black. I think that'll look really good. It'll give more of a color break between, because this does look a tad bit darker than this. This is a little bit faded. It's probably hard to tell on camera, but here in real life you could tell pretty easy. Not majorly different, but a tad bit different. And that molding will also protect this edge right here. So I prefer to have it on, because I probably will take the cap off from time to time. He was able to reuse these. He said they came right out pretty easy. They were a pain putting this molding back in that locks. This is the I think it's called lock something, like lock bead or lock something. This locks it all in. He resealed the windows. He repainted these. He ended up putting new, different type, bigger rivets than what was originally in here, but that's fine. He asked me if I wanted to paint them or just leave them. The old ones, the paint wore off anyway, so I figured for now just leave them. For now, I got this on here. I actually did a really short video on this. Just electrical tape to keep this from wearing into the paint, because it wears into your clear coat and then eventually down into the paint, primer, and then down into the metal pretty immediately. I mean, it'll wear into the clear coat probably like as soon as you start driving around and the thing's like rubbing against it and moving around a little bit. So put that on there for now. He's got I think it's called paint guard. It's like a piece of laminate, thick laminate, that's made for auto bodies that you can put like on. Originally I had it, I took it off just recently, but originally I had it right down here because it was getting like mold behind it on the edges, so I was like, I'll just take it off. Truck's 13 years old. It didn't have any nicks in the paint guard, so I was like, there's probably not stone getting up there anyways. There was a nick right underneath where it was though. So I mean, I keep up with the paint anyway, so I'm not really worried about it. This I ended up putting, I did another video on it. It's it's like a plastic and vinyl restore it's kind of like Back to Black, or like kind of like a high grade Armor All kind of. I wanted to do this before I put the cap on, so that way it's, you know, protected. And the tape that goes underneath there, what do you call the tape? The weather stripping. It's like a foam, and I don't want it like really getting stuck on here, although it probably will a little bit anyway, but this will help keep it from getting stuck, so I can take the cap off without ripping it, or without it being like stuck on here and I can't take the cap off, and then I gotta take like a putty knife and go right down and make a mess. I bought new ones of these. Originally I had 2 on each side, and they were huge. They were, I think, for a full-size truck. I got four on each side. I got 8 of these. So they're smaller, so they sit like tighter, so they're not sticking out as far. They look better. And my aunt had one of these caps, and I think she had it on a full size, so she had 3 on each side originally, and she kept adding them because she said the cap keeps moving. And it did. It was like not a whole lot, but it was moving, you know, it moved maybe a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch from the front of the bed, and maybe side to side a little bit. So I think she ended up with about 10 of them on there. So I'll start off with 4. I'll probably just keep tightening them. I had a third brake light installed out here. Originally there must have been one here. There's holes for it. Usually that's where the old ones were. I don't really like that, because climbing in and out, I hit my back on it, because it would hang down maybe about that far. Really, in my opinion, not a good design. Out here, trailer place told me don't put one out here unless it originally had one built in, because if it leaks water at all, it'll rot the fiberglass, like it'll just turn to cardboard, he said. But I'm figuring another thing I got to do. This guy who I had it painted, I had him put this on. He put the holes in, and it's a little bit crooked. I don't know if you can see that. I see it. I don't like it. I got to fix it. I got to drop this down about an 1/8 inch on this side, and I'm gonna make sure I really seal up the holes. Probably put some primer and maybe clear coat or something on it, and then put RTV around really good where the holes are. This will probably never come off again, maybe once. It's LED, so it's pretty much a done deal. I don't know how long they tend to last, probably at least 5 or maybe 10 years. Yeah, the gaskets are, I gotta make a couple new gaskets. I put a rubber gasket behind the screw head here, just to keep water from getting in there, because it probably will. It probably not much, but if you spray directly in there, so I mean rain probably wouldn't do it. It would probably drip down enough, and there might be a little puddle in there because it's a little bit on an angle, but for the most part it would drip down and dry out, be fine. But if you spray in there like at a car wash, that would probably work its way in. So definitely want to have a seal behind there. I guess I could make a little video on how I've been making gaskets for stuff about that size. I kept that one LEER emblem. It had like a decal right here, and it had a little decal here and a little decal here that was I don't even know what it said. I don't know if it was original to the LEER cap or if it was something somebody stuck on there, because this cap is probably 20 years old. So I got rid of those. I wanted to keep that little LEER emblem though. That's it. I'm not big on emblems, but I was like, I'll leave that one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Came out really good, except for those 2 things, the nicks on the bottom and the third brake light being crooked, which isn't a huge deal. I'll work on that. So yeah, just wanted to show you guys. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to help. They don't, by the way, this is a LEER Model 122 cap for an older style Ford Ranger, like 2011 and previous, and I don't know how far previous. I know the body style was pretty much the same from 1993 to 2011. They did add 2 inches onto the back of the cab right there, right around 1997, because it used to be 2 inches shorter. So the back of the cab wasn't here, it was about here. And that's pretty much, I mean, the front fenders and hood have changed, but pretty much other than that, I think the same bed is still was in use from 93 to 2011, so pretty easy to find used parts for. There's a lot of these still out there, and a lot of them in junkyards. So the cap, like I said, they told me they don't make it anymore. I called the trailer place to price out a new one. Yeah, told me they don't make that one for the older Rangers anymore, the tall ones. They do make the ones that are like that tall, but I didn't want that because the truck is small anyway, and I'm like just over 6 feet tall, so I wanted something that, you know, I could drop the tailgate down and I could climb into without hitting my back on it as much as possible. I'll probably still hit my back, but yeah, that's that. The guy took the windows out, supposedly resealed everything. Looks like he did. He said he would. It looks like he did. This is metal, so he ended up repainting this. Yeah, no, it came out really good. Ooh. I guess that's when he buffed it. I saw a white line there. I thought it was a scratch. Probably when he buffed it. So yeah. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.